because it's hard out here as a Cowboy fan. We keep losing the playoffs to the 49ers. We keep getting whooped on. I'm tired of that. It's hard. They could actually repeat and win back-to-back NFC East championships, which will be the first time done since 2003. And to be honest with you, I think they got worse in the offseason. This may be the only rebuilding team in the division. Hey, okay. It's a good day to talk some football. Alright, welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to go over each team's roster and predict the standings at the end of the season. Who's going to win a division and who's going to be in the rebuilding stage. And as you can see, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm not going to be biased. I'm going to try not to be biased. Alright? So the first team I'm going to talk about is the Eagles. They won a division last year, and they might win a division this year. The Eagles are looking good, man. Let's look at their key additions. They drafted Jalen Carter. They added DeAndre Swift, running back. Rashad Penny, running back. Greedy Williams, corner. Terrell Edmonds, corner. / linebacker safety. He's a hybrid guy. Marcus Mariota. And a couple other guys. So those are some good additions. Now for the departures, they lost Javon Hargraves, Miles Sanders, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Zach Pascal, TJ Edwards, and some other guys. Those are our most important guys. So if you just look at their additions and departures, they kind of evened it out. They lost Miles Sanders, but they brought in DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny. They lost Hargraves, but they got lucky in the draft, and a couple guys fell to them. Jalen Carter. They lost their linebacker and TJ Edwards. They brought in Terrell Edmonds. They didn't have him listed as a corner safety, but he's a linebacker in my eyes. Now, I feel like the Eagles, they knew they were going to have some turnover for this upcoming season as they had some expiring contracts. And with those problems, they made some good moves. Starting off with, they were able to keep both their starting cornerbacks in Slay and Bradbury. Now, I'm not too big on Bradbury, just off the fact of his performance with the Giants. When Bradbury was with the Giants, I was like, oh yeah, he's a scrub. But the year before with the Panthers, Bradbury was nice. And this past year, he was all pro. I don't know if it's that talent or that defensive line that helped him out, but it doesn't matter. He was an all-pro player. So getting back Slay and Bradbury was huge. And like I said already, they was able to get a good draft going. They got Jalen Carter, who was at one point a top 10 pick. But some off-the-field issues let him slide down, and the Eagles scooped him up, which was huge because they lost Javon Hargraves, which was an amazing defensive lineman for him. Now, a season ago, the Eagles had the number 2 defense in all of football. And in my mind, it hurts me to say this, if they can perform at a similar level as last year, it's going to be hard to beat them, man. They could actually repeat and win back-to-back NFC East championships, which will be the first time done since 2003. And in my opinion, that's all based on Jalen Hurts. We know that defense is nice. We know the receiving core is nice. We know their offensive line is probably the best offensive line in all of football. It all depends on Jalen Hurts. Does he continue to incline in his performance? Because if we think about it, last year was his first year doing the thing he was doing. His rookie year, second year, first time full-year starter. They barely made the playoffs, but they made it, and they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The last year, he went crazy. Now, the mentality that Jalen Hurts have, I believe he will continue to incline, which hurts me to say because obviously I'm a Cowboy fan. I don't want the Eagles to do good. But I do see Jalen Hurts keep on progressing and keep on being a good QB. And I do think the Eagles repeat. But that leads me to my Cowboys, the next team we'll talk about. Now, looking at the key additions and departures, the 2 biggest ones is Brendan Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. And we also added Ronald Jones. Our key departures was Dalton Schultz, which is going to hurt a little bit, but we'll talk about that later. Noah Brown, I think it was time for him to go. Connor McGovern, our guard, that hurt. And Ezekiel Elliott, we cut him because he was making too much money and that production wasn't matching. Now, to start things off, I think the Dallas Cowboys did a great job in the free agency. We brought in Brendan Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. We needed another wide receiver added to our roster because last year it was just CeeDee Lamb. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, it was nobody. I mean, nobody. Michael Gallup was coming off a knee injury. We only had CD. So Brendan Cooks, money. Stephon Gilmore. Outside of Trayvon Diggs last year was Anthony Brown, a bunch of young guys getting toasted. I was tired of seeing that. Stephon Gilmore, former Defensive Player of the Year, he's nice. He's getting older just like Brendan Cooks, but both those players are nice and have respect. Stephon Gilmore's a top 10 cornerback. So matching him with Trayvon Diggs, awesome. Now the only big loss I see from the Dallas Cowboys was losing Dalton Schultz, because in my opinion, he's a top 10 tight end. He's not top 5, he's not top 3, but he's a top 10 tight end. That's in the pass game and running game. And he was always a dependable option for Dak Prescott. So we're going to miss that, but we have Jake Ferguson, Hendershot, and we just drafted Shoemaker from Michigan. So I feel like those guys together can either match Dalton Schultz's production or overpower it, because Jake Fergie is nice. You're going to see. Now, I feel like Dallas, we're entering this season with high expectations. We have back-to-back 12-5 record seasons, which is awesome. I feel like Coach Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott has a great relationship. We're going to keep improving on that. And as we all know, Dak didn't have his best year last year. He did deal with some injuries along the way, but I'm not hearing none of that. There's no excuses on this channel and for the Cowboys. It's time to win something, because it's hard out here as a Cowboy fan. We keep losing the playoffs to the 49ers. We keep getting whooped on. I'm tired of that. It's hard. Dak got to get it together. It's time. And to sum it all up, I feel like we have a legit shot to be at the top spot at the end of the season. With young stars like Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, and you add in those vets that we signed this offseason, and a full, healthy offensive line, the sky's the limit. Now let's move to the third team in the division, the New York Giants. I feel like the New York Giants had a solid offseason, especially for Vanilla Vic. Daniel Jones. I mean, they added 2 veteran wide receivers in Paris Campbell and Jamison Crowder. And the biggest addition was Darren Waller. When Darren Waller is healthy, he can be a top 3, top 4 tight end in the league. He's that talented. He just has to stay on the field. And the biggest note for the Giants was keeping Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Even though Saquon Barkley is only like a 1-year rental for now. I'll be honest with you, I think the Giants overachieved last year by making the playoffs and getting to that second round. But I just don't think they have what it takes to win a division. They may be the 3rd team to sneak into the playoffs, but I think it's just hard to tell right now. But having Saquon and Daniel Jones is always good. Nice little receiving core. And only time will tell. Right now they're saying New York Giants 7.5 wins. I'll have to go with the over. I think they'll be like an 8-9 season team. And now in the last squad I'll talk about, the Washington Commanders football team, Redskins. This may be the only rebuilding team in the division. I mean, just looking at their addition, they added Jacoby Brissett, which I didn't even know they did. They added a tackle, a corner, and a linebacker. They lost Taylor Heineke, Bobby McCain, Cam Sims, and Carson Wentz. Like I said, man, I think Washington has the longest shot to win the NFC East. They were the only team in the NFC East that didn't make the playoffs last year. And to be honest with you, I think they got worse in the offseason. I mean, their quarterback play has been inconsistent. First, they tried to sign Carson Wentz. Bum. Then they cut Tyler Heineke, which, you know, he was winning some games for them. He had their spirits high, but he just wasn't that guy. Now their starting quarterback is former North Carolina standout Sam Howell, who is pretty good. He beat us last year, but I just think this team is going to take a beating this year. Sam Howell will have to get his feet wet. I just don't think they're talented enough. Like, they had individual pieces like Scary Terry and Jahad Dotson. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. And not to mention that they had the 8th hardest schedule in all of football. So an inexperienced quarterback and nothing to build off from last year, and you got one of the hardest schedules, yeah, it might get dark. But comment below your thoughts on the NFC East. Who do you think will win it? Like I said, I think it's going to be the Eagles first, then the Cowboys, then the Giants, then Washington. And while you're at it, go ahead and comment below which division you'd like me to review next. And like I always say, if you're a Cowboy fan, if you're an NFL fan, or just a die-hard football fan, go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now, because it's free. But until next time,